who had a solidarity message for the Pan-African Parliament to take the floor. I hope that by the time she finishes, our communique will be ready. Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, for giving me the floor.
The podium?
Oh, the podium,
yes,
sorry.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, for giving me the floor once more. Honorable President of the Pan-African Parliament, Honorable Vice Presidents, my honorable colleagues, speakers from national assemblies, honorable members of the Pan-African Parliament, honorable guests of honor, clerks and secretary generals from national and regional parliaments, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Madam Chair, please permit me to begin by acknowledging in high esteem the honor, privilege, and hospitality accorded to me and my delegation since our arrival here in Midrand. I am deeply touched, humbled by the gracious manner in which Madam Chair, and by extension, the Honorable Speaker of the Pan-African Parliament, and indeed to my all honorable colleagues herein for warmly welcoming and admitting me in this august assembly. Similarly, as the new Speaker of the National Assembly of the Gambia, may I on my own behalf, and indeed on behalf of the government and people of the Republic of the Gambia, recognize your immense moral and diplomatic support to the sovereign people of the Gambia during the 22 years of our dark days, particularly the impasse following the December 1st, 2016 elections. The Gambian people and the National Assembly of the Republic of the Gambia shall remain resolute in defending and developing our newfound freedom and democracy. We shall continue to count on your goodwill, jointly and severally, to further consolidate and protect our democratic values, norms, and institutions. Now, coming on to the theme of this August gathering, harnessing the demographic dividend through investment in the youths. This is not only pertinent, but very crucial to the future peace, stability, and security of our member states. That is, if over 65% of our population are socially and economically excluded from development and prosperity, then there is no reason to believe that the rest of us can live in peace. Thus, it is better late than never, and today, more than any time before, we need to come up with holistic policy measures and programs that will address and translate rhetoric into concrete, tangible results. We cannot afford to fail, as we have no excuses or reasons to do so, because the challenges and bottlenecks can be and must be surmounted. In the Gambia, the new government shall continue to revive and consolidate on the existing youth empowerment interventions, namely the National Youth Service Scheme, the National Enterprise Development Initiative, the Presidential Empowerment for Girls Education Project, the Songhai Initiative, and the President's Award Scheme. Madam Chair, these national youth empowerment interventions have lofty goals, but we are yet to harness their full benefits. Because in the Gambia, like in most sub-Saharan African countries, Institutions are set up. Money is provided for institutional operational costs, that is annual management expenses. But year in, year out, we fail to provide monies for their programs from our national budgets. Similarly, where we begin with donor funding, sustainability becomes a challenge after the expiry of the donor grant period. These, I must say, are no challenges, but we can overcome them with the right attitudinal changes and policy approaches. This is particularly so if we also subject these policy interventions to effective parliamentary oversight, which is always absent. But that notwithstanding, we in the Gambia have also registered spectacular success stories. We have just put in place a newfound democracy, which ushered in a new dispensation after 22 years of dictatorship. I am happy to report that the recent parliamentary elections held in the Gambia in April 2017 also translated rhetoric into tangible results for the youths, as evidenced by the 65% membership of the current parliament being youths. This, to us, is no mean achievement, because the youths in the Gambia, for the first time, have moved from being supporters to candidates and are now National Assembly members. In concluding, Madam Chair, now we ask the question, what is the way forward? Our proposal is that the way forward include, amongst others, a holistic, multi-sectoral, and multifaceted investment in youth empowerment, which must be consistently I'm sorry, I think he left out a page. The other proposal is for the AU fund to be set up to set up chapters in each member states. And the third one is for budgetary allocations in the national parliaments, yes. And I think the fourth one that we recommended was debt relief from the Bretton Woods institutions, which should be used to enhance and invest in the youth development programs. I think these are the 4 suggestions that we have. And on that note, Madam Chair, I say a very big thank you to everybody for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And on behalf of the Bureau and on behalf of the Conference of Speakers, we welcome you to your first Conference of Speakers for Africa. You can count on all of us for support and friendship, and we look forward to working with you very closely throughout your tenure. Thank you very much. Now, honorable colleagues, the text of the communique is ready. May I ask our rapporteur to present the same to the House.
Honorable
and honorable speakers of the African parliaments and senates, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to read the final communique of the 9th conference.
Bon, projet de recommandation.
Draft recommendation. Invited by the Pan-African Parliament on the 10th and 11th of August 2017 in Midrand, South Africa, the Republic of South Africa, and in accordance with Article 18 of the Protocol to the Treaty establishing the Pan-African Parliament, which means that PAP is working jointly with national and regional parliaments and all legislative bodies to discuss common interest issues. And referring to the decision assembly of the 28th Conference of the Heads and State and Government of the African Union of January 2017, which adopted the theme investing in the demographic dividend by investing in youths, recalling that the 9th Conference of the Speakers of African Parliaments of 2017 took up the theme of the 28th Conference of the African Union to fully benefit from the demographic dividend to invest in youth, the role of national and regional parliaments. Aware of the need and the opportunities to exploit the demographic dividend by investing in youth, representing a precious resource to meet the current and future challenges of Africa in the various spheres of Africa, and deeply concerned by the current situation where young Africans are compared to cope with socioeconomic inequalities, lack of access to education, child marriage, female genital mutilation, and other harmful traditional practices, and unemployment and lack of investments, noting with regret that young people languish in poverty, famine, and illiteracy are quite often drafted to serve in armed groups, militias, or terrorist movements, and engage in clandestine immigration. Noting the lengthy process of signing, ratifying, and submitting African Union legal instruments, such as the Protocol of the Consecutive Act of the African Union relating to the Pan-African Parliament, Malabo Protocol, and other African Union instruments pertaining to the youth, which can play a key role in youth empowerment. Noting with satisfaction, however, that 3 countries have ratified and submitted the ratification instruments of the Constitutive Act of the African Union relating to the Pan-African Parliament, namely the Gambia, the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic, and Togo, while 6 other countries have signed it, reiterating the firm commitment of the speakers of national parliaments to the signing and ratification of the Malabo Protocol, and aware of the challenges they face in their efforts to mobilize the organs of their executive to facilitate procedures for the signature and ratification of the said protocol. The Conference of Speakers of National Parliaments hereby, 1, undertakes to share best practices and experiences and to develop common strategies for accelerating the ratification, accession to, and implementation of African Union instruments, especially the Malabo Protocol and the African Youth Charter. 2, undertakes to analyze data on the youth during execution of their budget oversight duties, relying on the 4 pillars that guarantee demographic dividends, namely education and skills development, health and well-being, employment and entrepreneurship, and youth rights, governance, and empowerment. 3, decides to strengthen the internal mechanisms that promote the budgeting of national resources earmarked for youth programs. 4, undertakes to draft common strategies that promote youth empowerment and ratification of African Union instruments especially the African Youth Charter. 5, undertakes to enact youth-sensitive laws, encourage governments to implement such laws, and create institutions that actively promote investment in human resources, which is with a special focus on vulnerable young people in a bid to transform the demographic dividend into a catalyst of peace, stability, and sustainable development in Africa. 6, undertakes to develop and implement strategies aimed at reducing youth unemployment by at least 25% by 2024, in keeping with the first 10-year implementation plan of Agenda 2063 and of the United Nations Population Fund. 7, commands African Union member states which have completed the ratification process of the new Papa Protocol, encourages those that have signed it to complete the ratification process, and urges those that have not yet done so to sign and ratify the new protocol as soon as possible to ensure that it enters into force. 8, undertakes to hold a discussion in their national parliaments on ratification of the Malabo Protocol and to urge the executive branch of government, especially ministers in charge of international relations, to brief them on the measures taken by their respective governments to sign and ratify the Malabo Protocol. 9, undertakes to encourage the competent authorities in member states to take the necessary steps to expedite the signing and ratification of the Malabo Protocol by the 31st of December 2017. 10, requests the Pan-African Parliament to develop guidelines and establish a single mechanism to facilitate standardization of the process of acceding to African Union treaties. 11, advocates for the establishment of focal points within the ministries in charge of international relations in member states, tasked with monitoring and ratification of African Union treaties and legal instruments. 12, undertakes to include in the presentation and discussion of Pan-African Parliament reports in their legislative calendar. 13, requests the Pan-African Parliament to submit to the next conference the draft internal rules governing procedures of the annual Conference of Speakers. 14, welcomes and endorses the recommendations of the meeting of the Association of Secretaries General of African Parliaments held on the 9th of August 2017. 15, undertakes to implement the recommendations adopted by the annual meeting of the clerks and those adopted by the Conference of Speakers of African Parliaments, and to report on their outcomes at the next conference. Adopted in Midrand on the 11th of August 2017. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rapporteur. Only that I note that we had transferred paragraph 9 as amended from the text of the Secretary General to ours. We moved that, and there was an amendment moved by the Speaker from Ghana and other members. Paragraph 9, we had agreed to move it. Honourable members, as you recall, we had agreed that paragraph 9 be amended and moved to our final communique. So I put the question that paragraph 9 of the Secretary General report be moved to be paragraph 15 of the Conference of Speakers, and the present 15 become 16. Is that okay? Okay. Now, any other comments? Yes, President. President Nkodo.
Madam Chair. Please, Madam Chair, listen carefully the report of the conference. I have one issue I would like to be correct. It is in page 3. I have a French version. Notant cependant avec.
Noting with satisfaction, however, that 3 countries have ratified. So, Madam Chairperson, you need to look at what has been put in Article 7, because this is what was adopted by the Conference of Heads of States. The heads of state did not want to give the names of the countries that have ratified, but we said that we will just commend the countries that have ratified or signed. But as it has been drafted here, it is different. Whereas in paragraph 7, it has been clearly written that without the names, either you delete this paragraph so that we just remain with paragraph 7, because this might create a problem. I submitted a report yesterday. We are talking of 15 countries that have already signed. 6 have ratified, and 2 have deposited the legal instruments. So we prefer leaving it like that, and these countries will know who they are. If you name the countries, then you have to mention the names of the 15 countries that have signed, and also mention the names of countries that have ratified, and also those who've submitted their instruments. So the wording of Article 7 is appropriate, and this is what was adopted when I had presented my report. I'd like to request the conference, if there are no other considerations involved, that we cancel the paragraph starting with noting, and we just keep the draft under Article 7. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Mali, and then I think there was a hand from Burundi, then Speaker of Sudan. Let's go to Mali.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I believe that on page 2 of the report, we should delete in South Africa, last line, convened by the Pan-African Parliament on the 10th and 11th of August 2017 in Midrand, Johannesburg, in Republic of South Africa. I think there is a redundancy here. We should delete South Africa, Republic of South Africa. 5th paragraph. Confronté in French, there is no accent. It's just a typo issue. Now, since the president of PAP says that we shouldn't give the names, I believe that this is a way of encouraging the others. If by giving names of some, we are encouraging the others. It is Mali and Sierra Leone that were the first countries to sign and ratify, and we add the other names. Sir, we want the others to know that we were the first ones to sign. The others should also know that we were the first ones to sign. I think in this situation, we are hoping that by the 31st of December, we will obtain the ratification and signature. So we should mention the names. We are parliaments, and we are the ones in charge of encouraging countries to move towards this ratification. Among the heads of states, because of diplomacy and so on, they don't mention the countries' names. But we are responsible for government oversight. We want our populations to know which countries have signed, which countries have not signed. I don't want to be in contradiction with the president of PAP, but as the people's representatives, the people should know which countries have signed and which countries that have not signed. That's my own view. Then regarding the Conference of Speakers, we had set certain deadlines. We must have clear indicators. We've set ourselves certain indicators. We shouldn't be very vague like our heads of states. We should be more concrete. We have said that by the 31st of December, we should work on the signing and ratification. So this deadline should appear somewhere in the resolution. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Before we go to Sudan, I think that the issue of sitting in South Africa is important. The other time the Pan-African Parliament sat in Egypt. Why do you want to hide? We're in South Africa, this is where the venue is. I don't know why you should pretend it's not there. And then on the, I think this is an issue of accountability. We should name and shame. My own country hasn't ratified, so I should be reminded publicly that I've not done my work. So I don't think we should hide names. Let's go to Sudan. Speaker of Sudan.
Point of order.
Yes, point of order.
Point of order.
Yes.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. J'aimerais bien.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I think we should adopt a working methodology to adopt these recommendations. Because if we go from the preambular paragraphs to recommendations, and if you're toing and froing, it might not be an appropriate method. Can we just follow the same method as the method we adopted for adopting the recommendations of the Secretary's General report? We are going to page 4, we're coming back to page 1, then we go to page 3. We will be losing a lot of time. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Huh? Yes. Page, I think it is page 2. Comments on page 2. Speaker of Sudan.
Sorry. The cover. Sorry.
The cover?
Yes.
Who is speaking?
Zimbabwe.
Yes, Speaker Mudenda.
On the cover.
Yes.
I thought this was a communique, not draft final recommendations.
Yes, it is a communique.
It's a communique.
Yes, it's the outcome of our meeting.
Yes.
So the heading should be communique,
Correct.
not draft recommendations. To whom are we recommending? It is our document.
Thank you.
Speaker of Sudan. Thank you, Mr. Mudenda.
شكرا سيدة الرئيسة.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Of course, the use of words is important. Different words mean different things. That's the reason why on the first page we believe that the word exploit, which has been used in Arabic at least, on page 2 is something that has to be looked at, still in the Arabic version. There are 2 words here which are very different. In the first paragraph, in the Arabic version, at the bottom of the first page, we're only talking about the Arabic version. The word exploit has been used to translate harnessing in English. On the following page, there is another word in Arabic which is being used called tasrir, and these words are 2 different words have been used to translate the same term, harnessing.
وهذا مضر طبعا بالمعنى.
But this, of course, has an impact on the meaning, because if we are using 2 words to translate the same word in Arabic, might create problems. That is the reason why I am proposing another term to translate, which is taglil. Because the 2 words that have been used seem to have a negative meaning. On the same page,
where the problem is, speak to the sentence. and propose what you want.
وإذ يشير إلى
When we talk about lengthy, whereas in Arabic they're speaking about the slow pace or the slackness. In English, it is lengthy. It's still different. In the first paragraph, there we're undertaking to share best practices. But here again, there's a problem of translation in Arabic in paragraph 1. Undertakes to share. The word in Arabic is different. We should talk about sharing, which should mean pooling. Now, paragraph 9. There is again a problem of translation. The word encourage has not been properly translated in Arabic.
Slow process. I think we're noting the slow process. I don't know. We're noting the slow process.
No, I mean, I don't want to change the English term. I want to change the Arabic term.
No, but either it is a lengthy process, it's bureaucratic,
It is,
or it is slow.
No. I mean, if you use lengthy, there is an Arabic word which stands for lengthy. يتطاول بالتطاول instead of ببطء. So I want to use the English term, but I want to use the proper Arabic term. The one used by Arabic, the Arabic translation is not the correct one.
Okay, honourable members, let the portion in the Arabic be amended as proposed by the speaker. The Arabic version should be amended as proposed by the speaker.
Similarly, in point 1, in the, instead of saying بتقاسم, I want to say بتشارك, because again, sharing, the English word sharing is not تقاسم, but تشارك in Arabic. So I want to change the Arabic word to تشارك instead of تقاسم. Further,
on page 2?
No, on page 3.
No. Let's finish with page 2.
This is page 2, point 1. I finished it.
I think our pages are different. Maybe, Mr. Speaker, you could send the right words to the Secretariat, the words you want, so they can write them properly.
If you and the meeting will endorse my translation, I will be okay.
They want you to give them the words, so they can write them properly.
I mean,
we agree.
With the agreement, yes. I mean, if you agree that my translation would be accepted by the Honorable House.
Yes, okay. We want you to be comfortable. We want you to have a document which you are happy with.
I mean, there are other people who have different views.
Okay,
anyway.
We amend that paragraph in the Arabic version.
Yes.
As proposed by the Speaker of Sudan.
And on point 9, sorry, I have to say this. In point 9, page 3.
Can we
point 9.
Go page by page?
Point 9.
Mr. Speaker, let's go page by page. We shall come to point 9. We shall come back to you.
All right.
Anything else on page 2?
No.
Burundi.
No.
Let's go to Burundi first, then I come to you. Yes.
Oui, merci.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. On page 2, I think that there has been a misunderstanding here. The Honorable Delegate of Mali has said that there is redundancy. It says, he's saying that we should just keep Republic of South Africa, because in the French version, it has been repeated twice. Now, if we look at what follows, there doesn't seem to be any topic for the paragraphs that follow. I suggest that the first paragraph starts as follows. The 9th Annual Conference of Speakers of African Parliaments convened by the Pan-African Parliament, and so on and so forth. And then in the second paragraph, we should remove the accent on the word decision in French. We should remove the accent on decision. And for 28th, there's another accent which is missing. But in paragraph 3, for example, I suggest that we redraft it. And we state, recalling that the 2017 9th Annual Conference of Speakers of African Council also adopted, African Parliaments also adopted the theme of the 28th Ordinary Session of the Assembly of the African Union. It's just a problem in French, ma'am. Harnessing the Let's get the title right in French.
Yes, President Kodo, and then the Speaker of Madagascar.
Madame la Présidente.
Madam Chairperson, I will have to bring you back to the first page. The theme is harnessing the demographic dividend. In French, it is profit and not parti. Harnessing the demographic dividend through investments in the youth. Tirer pleinement profit and not parti, as they're saying in French. Now, in the first paragraph, you also have this correction. That's the reason why I was asking for the floor. The theme of the Conference of Heads of States, harnessing the demographic dividend. Right from the first, we should say profit in French. And when we move to the second page, in the third paragraph, harnessing the demographic dividend. That is the theme. So the French translation has to be corrected.
Okay, please correct them. Speaker Madagascar, then we go to.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I think there's a problem with the grammar. On page 2, deeply concerned by the current situation where young Africans are compelled to cope with socioeconomic inequalities. And in the third line, and other harmful traditional practices. It's a problem with French. The French grammar has to be corrected. We have, and then we talk of unemployment and lack of investments. It's only a problem with the grammar in French.
Yes, Madam.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I want us to agree on the proposal that the President of the Pan-African made, and also the proposal that my colleague from Mali made. With regards to the last paragraph in the English version, wherein the number.
Last paragraph of what?
The last part, noting with satisfaction.
Where are you? Which page are you on?
Page 2.
Am I reading the same document?
I have been given a document that this is a...
I don't see any noting with satisfaction on page 2. It isn't there.
Maybe I've been given the wrong document.
That is page 3?
Yeah, no, because this is a document I've been given. Because what I'm saying is that if we agree to name the countries that have signed and ratified, we have to make sure that we get the correct countries. This is what I'm saying. If we are going to name them, fine. But let's make sure that we get the correct names of all the countries that have signed and the correct names of all the countries that have ratified and deposited, so that we don't send any wrong information. That is my concern. Because Sierra Leone was the second to ratify and deposit. We deposited on the 14th of July, 2016 in Addis Ababa. I just
it's not
want
a problem. It's not a problem. I already said that those countries that have done their responsibility should be named so that we can celebrate them.
I know, but
those who have not,
yes, but to make sure that we don't leave out countries that have signed.
No,
we don't leave
we must
out
have
countries
all those who have done.
So make sure that
their work must be
correct.
named.
Yes, let's have the correct countries. That is my concern.
So, Secretariat, the countries that have signed, the countries that have ratified, the countries that have deposited, please name them
correctly.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I think there's only one amendment which we have taken in the Arabic version, and I think we have agreed to it. The one of the Arabic version, we have agreed to it. But if you want him to write, let him write and give it to you in the right language and right grammar. Okay, page 3. Page 3, colleagues. Cape Verde.
Point 9.
I would like to make a contribution to say that over the days that we've been here, from yesterday, there has been a strong commitment from all speakers, all delegations, to ratify and deposit instruments related to the protocol. I also advocate for the sake of diplomacy and to safeguard everybody. We should not mention those who have signed and ratified, because the paragraph that comes after already expresses this commitment. And we also have paragraph 7 on page 4 that already show this commitment as it was expressed by the President of Pan-African Parliament. No reference should be made to those countries because it's already implied. Thank you very much.
But let us not bury our heads in the sand. Last year we were here. We were here in this very room. And we undertook to complete the process. Some of us have not. We cannot pretend. No, no, no. I don't think I want this business of... this is accountability.
Merci.
Yes.
Monsieur le Président.
Madam Speaker, no, we don't want to hide our head. We have the speakers here who have major responsibilities. We came here with a big commitment, with big responsibility. We don't want to hide our head in the sand. We are here, but what I'm saying is that our commitment to ratify is something serious. And it's because I'm serious. Well, I don't agree with this expression that we're trying to hide our head in the sand. No, we are showing our head and we know what we are talking about. For the sake of diplomacy and the respect, we are here with a commitment to ratify and deposit the Malabo Protocol. It's a strong commitment that we have already taken.
Let's go to Chad.
Thank you, Madam.
Merci.
النقطة التاسعة. Point 9.
On item 9. Page 3, paragraph 9.
I'll come to you when we reach that page.
All right.
Yes, Chad.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. It is true that the list of the countries that ratified the protocol seems to gather the consent of the chair, but the manner of having this debate seems to indicate that we are going to punish those who have not ratified the Malabo Protocol. A kind of moral punishment or a communication punishment. I don't understand. I don't know. But we all know that we have been committed to the fact that by the 31st of December, most countries will register their instruments of ratification. And we sound like we are going to punish those who have not ratified. This is not presented the way I would have liked to see it. The manner in which the debate, the manner in which we are steering the debate does not seem to be serene at the moment. That's the way I see it. Thank you.
Dumbuya.
Madam Chair, I am at a loss. Those members that are opposed really to naming these countries, what is undiplomatic about it if they are named? I really don't see anything that is undiplomatic about it. If anything, I really feel, and strongly so, that if these countries are named, that will be an inspiration for others to follow. Thank you.
Yes.
Madame
Chair, we are dealing here with an official document. In official documents, we generally don't specifically name countries. If you want us to draw the attention of countries to ratify, this could be, what could be done is to give the number of the countries that have ratified or signed. But to name the countries by name may frustrate other countries that have not signed the protocol. I suggest that instead of naming the countries, we can refer to the number of the countries that have signed and the number of countries that have ratified the protocol. Thank you.
Honorable Bagby.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I think we have realized that what we used to do is not leading us to achieve the results we wanted. And so we're trying to improve on what we used to do. And we're thinking that it's important that those who abide by the decision of the conference should be celebrated. And so what is happening now is naming and celebrating those who have ratified and then deposited their instruments. We are naming and celebrating them so that it will act as an inspiration to those who haven't done it to also do it. My country, we haven't ratified. They are not naming my country because that would be naming and shaming. If we're naming those who hadn't ratified, then we'll be naming and shaming them. But we are naming those who have done so that we can encourage others to do the same, emulate their good example. And I think that's what we should do. If you mention just the number, it's incomplete. 6 countries. Which 6 countries? 15 countries. Which 15 countries? That is incomplete. We want openness, we want transparency, we want good governance. And we must show that by example. I believe that they should name all the 6 and the 15. That will make sure that by the time we come here next year, all of us would have gotten our governments to submit the instruments to Parliament for ratification and deposit. And that is the way forward. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you very much. Yes, Burundi.
Merci.
Thank you for giving me the floor, Madam. I support the previous speaker. We need to we can encourage the remaining countries to ratify. Our heads of state accepted the protocol. Why should we hesitate to sign it or ratify it? I continue with paragraph 3. There is a word that is missing in the French draft. One, undertakes to share best practices and experiences and to develop common strategies for accelerating the ratification. I think we should say here for accelerating the signature, ratification, and accession. We need to add the term signature under paragraph 2. There are too many semicolons in the French draft. I suggest we keep the same draft, but we need to change its structure by writing undertakes to analyze data on the youth during execution of their budget oversight duties, relying on the 4 pillars that guarantee demographic dividends, namely 2 dots, education, comma, skills development, comma, health, comma, well-being, comma, employment, comma, entrepreneurship, comma, youth rights governance, and empowerment. Thank you.
If there's no objection, we make those changes. Now, honorable colleagues, when we came last year, we were told that we needed 28. Okay, Madagascar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Regarding the treaty, there are 3 phases. There is, first of all, the signature. There is also the ratification and the instruments of ratification. So we have, first of all, the adoption of the treaty. Those who have not ratified, those who have not done so can sign. So we have a signature and ratification. Then they sign and ratify, and they adhere, they access the treaty. I think that here we discussed whether we should indicate the names of the countries that ratified. There are benefits and disadvantages here. We need to have a draft that reinforces the cohesion of the PAP member states. There is a proposal to say that we have a number of countries ratifying, number of countries signing, and then we have also the deposition of ratification instruments. We can refer to the numbers. And this is how we proceed in terms of legal matters.
No, I think he's just talking. You want to, Mr. Nkodo?
Madame la Présidente.
Madam Chairperson, earlier on when I took the floor, I had said we need to make decisions, and then I can submit these decisions to the Assembly. We had the same discussion in the summit, and it was agreed that we should give the number, and countries know that they are part of the number. And we produced a recommendation to say that those who have not ratified or signed, they should do that. And there was a decision in this line. Secondly, if you include names, you need to put in the names of all the countries. Earlier on, We do not have all the names with us. I don't know whether the clerk can produce the complete list. If we omit a country that could create diplomatic incidents, a country may have signed, Ghana signed. If we say that Ghana has not signed, this could raise problems. Since this is an official document that will go into circulation, we may be questioned on this. And then the heads of state can say why we did not include their names. Every time I submit my report, the first country to sign was Mali. And I usually give the number of countries that who ratified, and so on. And this led to the decision I referred to earlier on in the African Union. So this is an official document that will be disseminated. We can simply refer to this, but you know that we have a headquarters agreement, and this means that we have to refer to numbers. Thank you.
Now, you know, President, I think it was incumbent upon you yesterday to report to this conference about what we agreed. It was incumbent upon you, but you sat there, we debated, now we're in the communique, now you're saying, oh, by the way, there is something we agreed. It was incumbent upon you to produce that information yesterday. Yes? Yes. So now, are they 5, are they 6, are they 7, are they 16? Nobody knows. So maybe we just leave it. Speaker Mudenda.
Madam Chair, to give comfort to the President, why can't we get the rapporteur to come up with the correct information on the countries that have ratified? Because you mentioned Ghana as an example, that if it is left out, then it might cause diplomatic problems. Why not get the correct information? Is there a problem in getting the correct information?
And also, it's the President who has been appealing to us to complete the process. He's even moving from country to country. Now, if you don't give us the right facts, what do you want us to do?
Madam Chair, yesterday, they circulated the status of signing, ratification, and deposition yesterday.
Circulated it?
It was circulated yesterday.
To who?
Here.
I've not seen it.
Yes. Yes.
Nothing was circulated. I didn't see it.
But while we were seated here, Madam Chair, we were given the table yesterday of ratification, signing, and deposition. Yesterday.
Maybe it is the table which was not given. I don't have it.
No, Madam Chair.
I can't look at it from there. This is the conference you have organized. You want us to help you. You don't
Yes.
give this information.
But Madam Chair.
Yes.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair. Laissez-moi faire.
Let me make the following correction. Yesterday, when I gave you an oral presentation, I said that 16 countries signed, 5 ratified, and 2 deposited the instruments. I said it yesterday. Now I can give you now more details.
Of the Conference of Speakers is not casual. You should have given a written document to all of us. You can't just casually. No. That's not how speakers work.
Bon, Madame, on s'excuse. Si vous n'avez.
Madam, we do apologize for the fact that you have not received the document.
Read it out. Read it out to the meeting. Read it out, yes. I want them to hear. Then give me my copy.
Madame Excellence, Mesdames,
Excellencies, speakers of parliaments and senates, the issue of ratification by PAP to this day is as follows. 15 countries have signed. 15 countries. 5 countries have ratified, and 5 countries deposited their ratification. This is the status to this day. This comes from the Commission of the African Union. I do apologize. We should have circulated this document earlier.
So, honourable members, finally a document has been produced indicating the status of the countries. So now you know where you are and where you are not. So maybe we don't commend anybody, we just go home. Yes, Speaker Mdenda.
Thank you. I find a contradiction here. If this document came from the AU Commission and is public knowledge, what do we want to hide? This is public knowledge from the Commission. So why is PAP hesitant in going with this public document that has come from the Commission? Why are we hiding anything if it is public?
Is this a secret? Is it a secret? Yes, President. Yes.
Madame la Présidente, nous ne cachons.
Chair, we are not hiding anything. This issue was about whether we could give all the names. We can now give the names. There is no problem. I did not have the document. Now the question was about the names, and now you have the document. It's with you.
As we continue to just show those who have signed, who have deposited the instrument. Through this, as stated in the annex of okay. It should be an annex as it is an official document. Okay, honourable members, I think what we can do is to make a small amendment to state that the status of ratification is as contained in this annex here. Okay? Okay. Ça va? Okay. Vous êtes d'accord? Okay. Okay, so we, clerk, you make that amendment that the status of ratification is as per the annex here. This one. Okay. Okay, now we make that amendment, then we go, anything else on page 3? On page 3, I had, under paragraph 3, I did not like the word decides to strengthen. I thought we as Speaker should undertake to strengthen the internal mechanisms that promote budgeting of national resources earmarked for youth. I didn't want the word decide, I thought we should undertake. I thought we'd change the word to undertake. Is that okay? Okay, we make that amendment. Anything else on page 3? Page 4. Page 4, can I think I noted the Speaker of Sudan, you had something on page 4.
In point 9, the Arabic word used here, we use it usually in statutes and laws, meaning that there is an offense which has been committed, and therefore the person or persons who are committing this should be استجوبة. So, and it is different from the meaning of encourage, which is used in the English text. So I suggest that instead of استجواب, we use تشجيع to give by the English word encourage. So please.
That's for the Arabic version.
Yes, in the Arabic version, point 9, instead of the word استجواب, use the word تشجيع.
Okay, Clark, have you captured the change in language? Okay, we amend that paragraph 9 in the Arabic version. Anything else on page? Anything else on page 4? Now, honourable members, yes, Chad.
Madame la Présidente.
Madam Chair, under 6, undertakes to develop and implement strategies aimed at reducing youth unemployment by at least 25% by 2024, in keeping with the first 10-year implementation plan of Agenda 2063 and of the United Nations Population Fund. Now, at least 25% by 2024. The question here, do we have a figure that we have? Do we know about the rate of unemployment in our continent? And do we know how does this varies from one country to another? Are we dealing here with 25% for the entire continent or for each country? What is the current unemployment rate in the African continent? That's why to say reducing youth unemployment by 25%, this is very difficult. There is need here for a great deal of investment. I think that 25%, a reduction by 25% is not as easy as it may appear. So, two questions here. What is the current unemployment rate in our continent among youths? And is it possible to reduce such rate by 25% within 7 years, by 2024? Can we, within 7 years, reduce the unemployment rate among youths by 25%? This is a question I'm asking.
I believe the proposal arises from the Agenda 2063, and I think this is a projection of the African Union. That's their plan of the African Union to reduce by that level by 2024. So I don't know whether we can go out of it.
La question est-ce que
the question whether this is realistic at all?
Can we amend the agenda here in this meeting? The Agenda 2063, can we amend it? Speaker Madagascar.
Merci. C'est vous d'abord, Monsieur le Président. Bon, merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is reproduced from the road map. We cannot change it. So Agenda 2063 says that. And we have just reproduced the words used in the road map. So that's as far as paragraph 6 is concerned. Now, on 7, I would like to refer to the law on treaties. We have, I said that when we do not sign, we can adhere. Now, what do you mean by signature? It's starting the accession procedure at the time of the adoption of the draft, the protocol. This has to be indicated. We can, so you cannot start ratification if you do not, if you have not signed. So you can go into the ratification after signature. So when we adopt the protocol, we sign it. So this is the procedure of adopting treaties.
I hope the speaker from Chad realized that we are not able to amend the roadmap. It is already done by the African Union. So we are stuck with a figure of 25% by 2024.
Mais, Madame la Présidente.
Madam Chair, we are a parliament, as you rightly indicated. It's us who control governmental action. If we think that governmental action does not have clear objectives that can be attained, the parliament has to say something about this. Are you sure that by 2024 we'll be able to reduce youth unemployment rate by 25%? This is a question I'm asking. Or should we simply accept anything said by the heads of state? And what the Commission says, yes, we accept, and that's it, and we'll see whether we will be able to do this by 2024. If we know that by 2024 it will be very difficult to reach this objective, to attain this objective, and therefore we need to ask questions. Thank you.
Speaker of Mozambique.
Muito obrigada, Sr. Presidente.
Thank you, Chair. I think that the agenda is already approved. We are supervisors, but we also are the engine to the change, and we are the ones who approve the budgets. And I think that it's not positive that we are, as parliamentarians, that want to change the status of the youth and to reduce the unemployment, and we should lower the bar. And we think that we should fight to overcome the bar. And I think that we are striving to reach all these goals, and we need to fight to reach these objectives. And I think that we shouldn't lower the bar, and we should respect the commitments on the 2063 agenda. Thank you very much.
Honourable members, I think let us do carry out our responsibility to ensure as far as possible that we achieve what was planned by the heads of state. Let's do our side by budgeting, by planning, so that we get there.
One Africa, one voice.
One Africa.
Yes.
Okay, and the Speaker of Madagascar had issues with the use of the word sign. Are there serious issues about that?
I think, Chair,
yes, Mr.
I think it's the translation. In the English, the order is proposing the Honourable is correct. In the English version is correct. Perhaps it is the French.
Okay, can we ask the Secretary to rectify the anomaly in the French, paragraph 7 of the French version? Any other comments on page 4? Now, honourable members, on paragraph 10, I had some difficulties when we say PAP to develop guidelines and establish a single mechanism to facilitate standardization of the process of acceding to African Union treaties. I don't know. I don't know whether colleagues have understood whether it is also feasible. Is it feasible to have a single? Is it feasible? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, the Pan-African Parliament is part of the AGA, the African Governance Architecture platform. And what the African Governance Architecture platform is trying to do, working with other sectors, is to come up with a standardized method of ratification procedures. We know this because the AGA is currently chaired by the Pan-African Parliament, and the Secretariat is the political affairs the division, and they are working towards this standardization. So maybe we can just assist, and we urge the political affairs to expedite the standardization of these methods so that it is available even for the reporting. even for the reporting, they are also working on the reporting mechanism for all African Union shared values, so that there is a common reporting template that every country is going to use. Otherwise, if you leave it, everybody country will just come with their own reporting, and that can make assessment of the progress difficult. So I think as chair of the AGA, we are chairing the AGA, that work is in progress. Maybe we can just urge that we expedite this process, so there is a common standardized mechanism for the ratification and accession of all the African Union shared values, which is under the AGA platform. That is the information I can give.
Unfortunately, I'm not privy to the AGA platform. That's why I find difficult with but I don't know what colleagues think. What do you think about this paragraph 10? Yes, Chad.
Madame la Présidente.
Madam Chair, to have standardization, all African countries should have the same process of ratification, which is not the case. I fear that the Pan-African Parliament will find it very difficult to standardize a system over which they have no control. Each government has its own procedures. So there are procedures, and these procedures vary from one country to another. The question is not about standardization. It's about mobilizing countries to ratify the African Union treaties and not to standardize the method. It would be better, in my view. This paragraph T is not very clear, and the Pan-African Parliament will find it extremely difficult to standardize these procedures. They won't be able to do it.
And then we'll go to Mali and then Burundi. President?
Merci. Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I believe that it had been recalled earlier by the Honorable from Madagascar that when it comes to treaties, we have the signature. After the signature, there is the ratification and the deposition of the ratification instruments. It may be the case that in the case of Malabo, heads of state took the commitment, probably the ministers for foreign affairs forgot to sign. And if there is normally, if this is adopted by the heads of state, all the signatures should be there. Probably in international law, if the ministers have not signed, those who sign in the first place are the ministers, they are the signatories. The treaty is signed, then it is ratified, and then there is the deposition of ratification instruments. All the ministers of foreign affairs in Malabo should have signed. So it is the states which had acceded the protocol. Thank you.
Honourable members, this is not about Malabo. This is about all the treaties. This is what they're proposing, that there should be a standard procedure for acceding all the treaties of the African Union. That's what they want here.
Yes.
Which
Point of clarification, madame.
Yes, Honourable.
Madame la Présidente, je vous remercie que vous...
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Thank you for coming back to our document. Now, what is said in Article 10, paragraph 10, Madam Chairperson, even though I am the chairperson of AGA, the countries ratify in compliance with their constitutions. And we are faced with two types of constitutions, the Anglo-Saxon and the Napoleon Constitution for the Francophones. It's very difficult to standardize the two, just like what the Speaker of the Assembly of Chad said. What we're trying to do today is to encourage people, in accordance with their respective constitutions, to ratify all the legal instruments. It's not only this one which is at stake. The provision of paragraph 10 is not appropriate because standardization means either the Pan-African Parliament will pass a law which will be ratified by all the states, which is a very lengthy procedure, but I prefer what we are doing now, and that is to invite the states in compliance with their respective constitutions to ratify. Second point, I'd like to call your attention to the following. A treaty, as long as it's not entered into force, the states cannot access it. So firstly, the treaty has to enter into force. Those who have not signed or ratified can actually do that. These are two things that we have to these two things have to be clarified. So well, you didn't like what I said, because what you're saying might actually delay us further. Well, some people will say, well, people will accuse us of being supranational, and this is one of the examples which could be interpreted wrongly. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Members, I think you will agree that paragraph 10 really is not appropriate because it's not feasible. So we delete it. Yes. Okay, paragraph 11. Yes, Burundi.
Oui, donc.
Now, in paragraph 7, which should be merged with paragraph 9, I believe, we have the word sign, which has to be deleted and replaced by access, the term access, as mentioned by the speaker from Madagascar. In paragraph 14, we say welcomes and endorses the recommendations. I think the word félicite in French, which says commends. The problem is in French, because in French they have said commends and endorses. In English it says welcomes and endorses. Secretaries General of African Parliaments. The word African is missing in English. In French, sorry. In French. Talking about, in paragraph 6, we are saying UN, the United Nations Population Fund, and United Nations Development Fund is UNDP. I think there's a problem in French. In French, they have mentioned United Nations Development Fund, and they have put UNFPA. Whereas in English, it's United Nations Population Fund. That's fine. So the Secretariat needs to correct this, he says. Thank you.
Okay, can we ask the Secretariat to really clean up the French version so that members are satisfied with what is happening? Okay, any other comments on page 4? Now, I wanted to, yes, Speaker Sudan.
Thank you, Madam. نقطة 11.
Under paragraph 11, the first word, advocates, the English word advocates, in Arabic it's translated as yudafa. It would be better to say yadru, which is a better translation for advocates. Thank you.
Secretariat, please adjust the Arabic version as proposed by the Speaker of Sudan. Now, honourable members, yes.
Madam, on 11, advocate for the establishment. We know that in the foreign affairs ministries in most countries, they have decks. They have decks for African Union. They have decks for ACP EU. They have decks for ECOWAS in most foreign affairs ministries. So what we should say, advocate for the establishment and or strengthening. Where they don't have, then we advocate. But where they have, then we strengthen, because we know they are there. Maybe they are not working as they are supposed to be working. But in most foreign ministries, they have decks for most of these international things. So I'm suggesting the advocate for the establishment and or strengthening of focal points. Where you don't have, you establish. Where you have, you strengthen.
Members, I believe that that's an innocent proposal. It will address the different scenarios. So we adjust the paragraph 11 as proposed by the Honorable Vice President. Now, honourable members, on paragraph 14, I wanted to add welcomes and endorses with amendments, because we made amendments to the clerk's report. I would want to see the word amendments there because we made some substantial amendments to the text. Any objection? Okay, so let's add the word with amendments. Then we would want the paragraph to deal with the deadline, because we agreed yesterday that the countries that have not yet completed the process should work hard and try by 31st of December to have done their work. So we need a paragraph there. Undertakes to complete the process by the 31st of December 2017. That's what we agreed yesterday, isn't it? Okay? Yes, Chad.
Madam Chairperson, well, I thought that, that the issue had already been addressed under paragraph 9. Because we are undertaking to encourage the competent authorities in member states to take the necessary steps to expedite the signing and ratification of the Malabo Protocol by 31st December 2017, unless something else.
So that deals with all the proposals on our members. If there are no further comments, 15, there's 15. 15, any comments on 15? Yes, Chad.
Oui, Madame la Présidente, nous...
Chairperson, well, we are concluding the communiqué, and we are not even commending the authorities or the government of South Africa for welcoming us. We're not even thanking the Pan-African Parliament. You know, the communiqué, a formal communiqué should you go through the normal diplomatic procedure. Well, this is just a proposal. I think we should acknowledge we should conclude the communiqué by commending the authorities of the South African government and PAP for the good organization of the 9th Annual Conference of Speakers. That's the least we could do.
Can we finish this paragraph 15 first before we introduce anyone? Paragraph 15. Any comments on paragraph 15? Any comments?
No.
None? Okay, so paragraph 15 is also adopted. Now we add a 16th paragraph to commend the government of the Republic of South Africa, the Pan-African Parliament, and all the agencies for the warm welcome and facilitating our work. Is that okay? Thank you very much. Honourable members, now put the question that the communiqué be adopted as amended. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it. Okay. Honourable members, we've come to... yes, you have something to say?
Oui, merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Well, regarding the amendment that has been proposed, normally if Article 10 is deleted, then we'll only have 15 articles and not 16. Yeah, so we'll have to just sort it out.
Merci beaucoup.
Very much.
Secretariat will work on that. That's not the work of the Speaker. The clerk will work it out, the numbers and so on.
We added the one of the clerks. Don't forget.
Yes, we also added one. We brought in one from the clerk's report. So there are 16.
Madam Chairperson, before
Namibia.
Yes, before you conclude, when everything has been said and done, I think what is left out is a big thank you to you for guiding the work of our forum. I think we need to register our special thanks and appreciation in the manner when you handle the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Now, I'm sure the President wants to give us a good lunch. Can we have, are there any announcements for the lunch? Secretary? Eh? Okay, before we go for lunch, I'm sure the President would want to say a few words.
Yes. Conclude.
Yes. You know, we don't have an agenda. You don't have an agenda.
Excellence.
Your Excellencies, distinguished speakers of national parliaments, commissioners and representatives of international organizations accredited to the Republic of South Africa, and distinguished vice presidents of the Pan-African Parliament, honorable members of the Pan-African Parliament, distinguished clerks of African parliaments, distinguished representatives of the African Union, distinguished youth, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. We have just concluded our proceedings. While I sincerely commend the distinguished Speaker of the Parliament of Uganda and her team for the way in which she presided over our proceedings, and this has confirmed that my choice has been good, but in the fact that I've given the chairmanship to women, because once again women have shown us that they are not asking for power just for the sake of having it, but they also know how to discharge their duties. So, Madam Chairperson, a big thank you to you. I would like to also commend Honorable Gabriela Gavez, Senator and Chairperson of the Foreign Affairs Committee of Mexico, of the Senate of Mexico, who has taken all the trouble of coming from so far to Africa to meet the dignitaries and authorities of our parliaments. This is not only a sign of respect, but it is a token of the good collaboration between both our institutions. Madam, you're going back home. Our speakers have heard you, and they will make the right choice when time comes. I would like to also thank the government of South Africa, who have actually made all the security facilities available to us, because for some time now, the Pan-African Parliament has been of various aggressions, but this time around, everything was done to make sure that all our guests are made welcome and well received. So I'd like to, of course, commend the Office of the Clerk and all those who have made presentations here for the quality and their devotion to their duty. As far as you, distinguished speakers of parliaments, are concerned, the Pan-African Parliament will be what you make of it. The recommendations and the final communiqué that have just been adopted prove the interest that you have in this parliament of yours. It couldn't have been otherwise, actually. Looking at the efforts that you have made, as I said yesterday, in spite of the very serious economic crisis which is present on the African continent, you have come all the way here to work. And I'm extremely proud of the resolution that you have made and adopted. That is to make sure that all African parliaments will celebrate a Day of the African Parliament. This will, of course, confirm what you've done here. Some thought that we only come here for tourism, but I can assure you the quality of men and women that you've sent here proves that we are all discharging our duties as per the requirements. Your Excellencies, distinguished speakers, and I'd like to tell you that we are putting a solid foundation for our parliament. We need your constant support, because if PAP does not have a solid and robust foundation, it will never be able to achieve the objectives which are theirs, namely legislate. One of the recurrent issues which shall be discussed in Yaoundé from the 22nd to the 26th of August is the problem of the integration of this continent. And your resolutions here have clearly shown that you are committed to make sure that the African continent becomes integrated. And this integration will definitely, of course, go through another phase, and that is the integration of men and women. An integration without which any integration project will never see the light of day. So you have taken an important decision here, and that is to ratify all the legal instruments. And I'm sure that it's not superfluous if I remind you that since the inception of the OAU in 1963 and the African Union in 1999, the Assembly of Heads of State has adopted more than 53 legal instruments for integration, which for most of them have not even entered into force. So how can we think of integrating our continent if we are not able to have the norms and standards which will allow for the free movement of people and goods within our continent, but also which will encourage our youth in case we adopt the appropriate instruments. It will allow our youth to stay on the continent and not try to migrate between countries and outside the continent, and because of which we are losing thousands of our young men and women. Similarly, if you succeed in the integration of the continent, development will follow. And if this development becomes a reality, the youth will get jobs, and then we can do away with even the phenomenon of terrorism. While I thank you, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished chairpersons and speakers of African parliaments, I would like to express my deep satisfaction and pleasure to host you here, and also tell you that your discussions are extremely important and interesting for the future of our continent. So I'd like to pray to God, just like what He did to bring you here, that He will take you back to your respective homes in good health, and to make sure that our proceedings here will have an impact in our countries. Long live the African youth, long live the Pan-African Parliament, long live the African Union, one Africa, one voice, and I thank you for your kind attention.
Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the national anthem of the Union.
Au fils et filles de la
This song for the rallying of Africa is a challenge. I'd like to invite the Secretariat to produce the CD of this song for our different parliaments. And this, we must all be together in this. I'd like to I'd like to move all the deliberations. No amendments, no proposals adopted. The agenda having been completed, the meeting is adjourned. An announcement, the consultative meeting of clerks will take place at 1400 hours, 2 p.m. in room number 10. I would like to invite all of you, distinguished speakers and delegations, to lunch in the same venue as yesterday, and I wish you a safe journey back to your respective homes. Thank you.